In 30 days of learning pixel art, I went from drawing this to this. Here's the thing, I never saw myself as an artist. Throughout childhood, I had the artistic skill of a fish trying to walk on water. And it's not like I didn't try. My mom signed me up for painting lessons, and my teacher thought my caterpillar was a green stick. I watched my twin brother's artistic skills skyrocket drawing ninja cats and wolves while I just stayed there. But the bulk of my artistic shame came from one of my best friends, Seth. Seth was a drawing god. Throughout high school, I sat next to this man in studio art, and his doodles looked like masterpieces. And worst of all, he was infuriatingly humble. Every time I made something, he'd look at me and say, "Ow, that looks pretty damn good, Aiden." And then he'd draw something that looked like the Mona Lisa in comparison and say, "I wish I could make something actually good." It was frustrating as hell. While my brothers and classmates continued to approve, I felt I'd always be stuck until I came across a book by Anders Ericsson called Peak, The Science of Expertise. Ericsson explains anyone can become an expert at something as long as they purposely practice, even if they're an adult. He explains most adults don't because they stay in their comfort zone and aren't deliberate about the ways they practice. They don't practice with goals, focus, or feedback. The solution is what he calls purposeful practice. And purposeful practice is defined as a specific, structured form of practice in which you have a few factors which I summarize in my acronym F.I.G.H.T. Yes, I did make the acronym, but I promise I'm not a bloodthirsty killer yet. Anyways, the acronym goes like this. It's first, focus, which means the learner is intensely focused on the present activity, opening them to flow, where they become so focused on the present activity, they lose consciousness of the self. Next, we have iteration, which is when the learner has a means of seeing what they're doing right and wrong, and then can improve through the feedback. Then we have Goldilocks zone, which is the learner stays inside of their Goldilocks zone. The zone in which something isn't so hard it's frustrating, but it's not so easy that it's boring. Then we have heart, which means the learner has a means of maintaining motivation. And finally, targets. The learner has intention for the goals of the practice session. After learning about purposeful practice, I was ecstatic. I was like, maybe this could actually make me a good artist. So I created a challenge for myself. I would, for 30 days, do purposeful practice in pixel art. And if I still sucked donkey barnacles at the end and wanted to projectile vomit when seeing my drawings, then maybe I just suck at drawing. But if I don't, there's something to the theory. So the rest of this video is my 30-day journey. May it inspire you on your own learning endeavors of any sort. Let's start with day 1 after I take a drink. Man, that's refreshing. So on day 1, I sat in my dorm room inspired and I outlined my learning plan with the Q.U.E.S.T learning framework that I share in my video, How Can Games 10 Times Our Learning in Real Life? Getting a rough outline of a learning endeavor is crucial before starting anything. As my boy, Benjamin Franklin once said, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So I wrote my learning plan in Spanish, but I translated it into English because I'm learning Spanish for fun. So let's go through it together. First step is Q for question your goal. You can think of this step as identifying why you're doing the learning endeavor you're doing. So you define what you want to learn concretely, why you want to learn it. It's similar to choosing your quests in a game. So for my pixel art learning project, this looked like this. I want to learn to draw intermediate level pixel art for my content creation. And the reasons for that were, it'll teach me more about meta learning, particularly the value of purposeful practice. I also want some more a taste, a spunk, a pizzazz in my content creation, because I noticed I love content creators like Tim Urban, Lawrence Yeo, and they have a spunk to them, specific taste, because they have drawings in their content, which makes me feel like it's them even if I don't know who wrote the piece. I know it's them. And I want something similar. I also want to create something that I can do while bored. And I also want to connect more with two of my really good friends because they love to draw quite well as well. Then we have U, which is uncover gaps. You can think of uncovering gaps as the what part of your learning map. In this step, you identify what it is that you need to learn to achieve your goal. This could be knowledge, skills, habits, routines, environments, or tools, akin to understanding the terrain and challenges in a video game quest. And it doesn't matter if your list isn't perfect in this step because you can always reconfigure the list later on when you know the challenge better. So for my pixel art learning, this step looked like this. The concepts that I needed to learn were stuff like shading, color theory, perspective, composition. Some facts that I need to learn were pixel art styles and software shortcuts. Some skills that I needed to learn was Procreate, which was the software that I was using. Not a traditional pixel art software, but it lets you draw in other styles than just pixel art. So I thought it would be cool to have pixel art mixed with other styles at some point in the future. And then routine that I need is a regular time to pixel art draw. And finally, the tools I need are an iPad Air. Then we have E, which means explore resources. You can think of these next three steps, including this one, as the how of the learning that you're gonna embark on. So in this step, you gather the best tools, the resources, and the allies for your journey, articles, books, courses, podcasts, whatever, and mirrors the collection of gear inside of a quest for an actual video game. So while exploring resources for my pixel art journey, I found a free YouTube course on Pixel Art 101 by Pixel Pete, which seemed perfect for my needs. Like I knew I was going into pixel art drawing and I wanted to draw objects and characters for my content rather than backgrounds. So in this pixel art course, I didn't just go through the whole thing linearly. I emphasized the parts of the course that had to do with drawing objects and characters, and I de-emphasized the stuff on backgrounds because I didn't care as much about that. So that's why it's so important to have a goal when you're going into your learning endeavor, because otherwise how would you know to do that? Then we have S for strategize backwards. This is where you concretely set forth how you're going to embark on your learning endeavor by setting higher order goals and then reverse goal setting your way down to individual tasks and daily routines. There is so much research that I could go into on SMART goal setting and all these other goal setting methods, but it's really up to you how you set your goals. So instead, I'm going to give you a suggestion, which is what I did, and you can take it or leave it. My favorite goal setting method comes from Ali Abdallah's Feel Good Productivity, which is called NICE goal setting. Isn't that nice? NICE goals are near term, next few weeks or months. They're input based, which means they emphasize the process of getting to the goal rather than the outcome of the goal. They're controllable, meaning you can influence them, and they're energizing. So you get excited for at least the goals that you set. So for my pixel art project, my NICE goal was to spend an hour a day drawing pixel art for the next 30 days by going through Pixel Pete's course and culminating in creating something awesome, which it ended up being a logo for my gamification series on YouTube. It was like a super motivating, cool goal to think for from the beginning. And then the last step of Quest is tackle and tweak, which is where you embark on your quest and you tweak the different parts of the quest framework as you learn more and more about your goal. Because as you do, you might change what goals you want to go after. And that definitely happened in the 30 days as I went through. So that was my learning plan. And once I was finished with that, I got myself a pixel pack, which I installed on Procreate. And no, I'm not going to be making babies, if that's what you thought the app was. I'm making art, Mom. So once I was done installing the pixel art pack, I started with the first lesson of Pixel Pete's beginner pixel art series on YouTube. And as you can see, there are 66 videos. It's quite a chonker. And regardless of what it is I want to be creating, I started with Pixel Art Pete's video on shading because according to Erickson, when you're first diving into a learning endeavor, you want to learn the fundamentals, which are like the real tried and true aspects of the learning that apply almost across across contexts. So for pixel art, that's shading, color theory, and perspective. And according to Scott Young's book, Get Better at Anything, one of the best ways to learn the fundamentals is counterintuitively copying. And this is funny because people generally see doing copying like taxes, heinous. But according to Young, copying is actually one of the most common ways that we learned effectively throughout history. Like so many artists and architects and writers learned to become great through apprenticeships and essentially copying the ones above them. Children copy their adults all the time and learn social dynamics and language that way. You can't innovate before you imitate. So that's exactly what I did. I literally just went through the beginner shading videos and essentially copied what Pixel Pete was doing. I drew some boxes and changed the vibrancy and hue, and this is what they ended up looking like. So yeah, that's where we're starting. Day 2, I learned how to do shading more in depth. I moved from boxes to rounder things like gems, and I was tempted to draw Minecraft diamonds, but I resisted. The main thing that I learned in the video about shading was that you should lighten where there's a light source and darken where there isn't. Wow. No shit. But I did learn something more insightful, which was when light hits the ground of a floor of some sort, it actually comes back up and has a second lighting effect in places where it's not hitting directly. So the way that you can implement this into your pixel art is if you have a rounder object, like a gem, for instance, you can actually draw a bit of a highlight at the bottom where there isn't direct light coming to give it a little bit more of a rounder feel. So you can see how I did that in these images right here. And I also learned that you should highlight and shade more progressively, because if you go just directly from highlights to shade, it looks really jarring. So I try to have a little bit of a gradient, spice it up a bit. And then I learned how to draw some rocks. Yeah. Rocks. Day 3, I drew some furniture to my rocks following one of Pixel Pete's videos. And if you're wondering what the grid design is inside of these pictures, it's meant to help me draw in a 16 by 16 space. When getting into pixel art, it's generally good to start not as big because it's easier, and then slowly build your way up to like 32 times 32 and larger. And this is so you don't overwhelm yourself. Remember the FIGHT acronym? You want to stay in your Goldilocks zone. I try to be smart with my shading to make the furniture look like it really had some highlights and shadows. So tell me, you be the judge. Would you sleep in that bed? Because I definitely would not. Hey, gotta be real with your own heart sometimes. Day 4 was the best day so far. I learned more than any other day combined. And by that, I mean I learned about the power of procrastination. I'll be honest, I didn't really do anything this day. I was having a friend over and visited another old friend with my parents for dinner. So I had 0 time to do pixel art. And it's important to admit that, right? Any goal that you pursue is not gonna be perfect. You can't win them all. So there's gonna be days where you can't do it, and you shouldn't give up. I mean, if you were dieting and accidentally ate a Big Mac, would it make sense to be like, oh, I ate a Big Mac, guess I should ruin my diet for the rest of the week? No, that doesn't make it. That doesn't make sense. One failure doesn't stop you from continuing. Day 5, I practiced more rock making and learned to make grass following another Pixel Pete video. And hey, that grass actually doesn't look that bad. This is the best damn pixel art grass I've ever made. Now you might say it's the only pixel art grass I've ever made, but beggars can't be choosers. Day 6, today was actually my best day of drawing yet, and this time I'm not pulling your leg. I was spending the day with my dad and mom for the solar eclipse, and I had a ton of extra time to draw while I was waiting. So I returned to my Terraria video game addiction days, and I drew some Terraria weapons, like a pickaxe, a sword, and a hammer. And I followed Pixel Pete's videos on drawing weapons for inspiration. Personally, I don't think they look that bad. As you can see, I'm steadily increasing the challenge of what I'm drawing as I get better. So I started with shaded boxes, and now I'm doing weapons for Terraria. I was inspired, so I decided to start my first attempt at drawing something without Pixel Pete's video. And I worked on drawing some food for one of my videos, The Consumption Box of Death, which you can watch the finished one up above after this video, finish this one. So I first started with the most important thing, peanut butter. Naturally and literally, because I drew Teddy natural peanut butter. And then I drew the food of our ancestors, a banana. Next, I drew my brother's favorite food, chocolate. And finally, every gym goer's favorite thing to eat, drink, and sleep on, a meat stick. I think I had the most fun with today's drawing because I didn't copy someone else. I was innovating. I was creating my own thing. And I think imitation, as I said earlier, can be great for learning, but it's in the innovation where I think the real fun starts to come in. So you shouldn't always force yourself to do it if you don't feel like it. I'm also following one of the insights from Ali Abdal's Feel Good Productivity, which is make what you do so enjoyable that you want to do it anyways. So I'm doing that with my pixel art. I'm making it so intrinsically fun that it's what I want to do with my time nonetheless. I'm listening to music while drawing, doing it with others by sharing my drawings, and I'm not taking myself that seriously. Day 7, I drew more food, and looking back, this probably was not a good idea considering I was on a cut while drawing this food and pretty hungry. I mean, that burger especially. Day 8, I drew more food. I have a problem. I also watched some critique videos from Pixel Pete on other people's pixel art, and he would critique how to make them better. And I turned it into a game. What I did is I would pause the video when he showed one of the drawings, and then I would guess what is he gonna say to improve it before he said it. And this way it turned a normally passive process into an active one because I had to guess what he was gonna say, improving my skills as well. Day 9, I drew more food again. Day 10, I drew some more for one of my videos, the consumption box of death, which was one of my big goals for my pixel art. And I'm already working on one of the big goals that I started. That is freaking awesome, honestly. I made a box with a radioactive sign on it and then some food going into the box. And if that makes no sense to you, don't worry, watch the video after this one. Day 11, I drew all my drawings for the consumption box of death. I haven't finished revising it yet, but it actually feels amazing to have done this for the first post ever because it was so much fun. Like, the time flew by just like that, and I definitely want to keep doing this for videos in the future. Day 12, okay, I got no drawing done today, but it's a fair reason. So I was gonna draw, right? But then a date that I had went really well. So can you blame me? I mean, what did you want me to do? Just tell her like, I'm sorry, I know we were having a good time, but I need to draw for an hour. So could you just like skedaddle, right? I'm not gonna do that. And it worked out because after the finishing of this challenge, we're actually boyfriend-girlfriend now. So not only I learned pixel art in 30 days, but also got relationship as well. So just big wins all around. Day 13, I decided to go more into the course by Pixel Pete, and I learned more about color paletting, hue shifting, and color theory. And I thought it was really interesting. So if you'll indulge me, I'm gonna tell you some of the principles that I learned about all of those things. So determining what colors to use comes from asking what experience you want people to have in your art. Generally, lighter, higher saturation colors make for a more playful, fun-loving look, like Super Mario Bros. And darker colors make for a darker, more serious scene like Hollow Knight. So once you know the experience you want to give people, you begin with deciding what specific colors to use. Different colors evoke different feelings, and importantly, also depending upon the culture you're in. So all of the feelings I talk about below are from US culture. Red generally is for like heat, evil, anger, war. Yellows for happiness and sunlight. Greens for energy, nature, poison. Blues for calm, purity, wisdom, cold. Purples for power and wealth. And white is for purity or good. And once you know the colors that you want to use, it's a good idea to think about how they might interact with each other. Don't just blindly pick colors and combine them together, right? You might end up having a caterpillar that gets called a green stick, like I did as a kid. But there are some standard color combinations that you can go with. Like for example, a monochromatic color has a game that's almost entirely in one color. So this can be great if you're going for like a specific mood, like in Hollow Knight, where most of the game is gray, black, and blue, with a very dark, dreary theme. Then you have complementary colors, which are colors that are opposite to each other on the color wheel, which really makes them pop and explode in your face. So like Splatoon is a great example. Then we have analogous colors, which are colors right next to each other on the color wheel. And this makes for a nice, stable combination. Ori and the Blind Forest is a great example of this. Notice how calming that looks. Like you couldn't help but be relaxed while playing that game. A triadic color scheme forms a triangle on the color wheel. So here's a drawing which shows that really well. Then we have a tetradic color scheme, which is two complementary colors next to each other on the color wheel. And I bet you did not think that you would see this in a pixel art video, but it perfectly encapsulates the tetradic color scheme. It's a bird from the jungle. For days 14, 15, and 16, I spent each of these days trying to draw myself. Definitely not egoist, I promise. I wanted a recurring character representing me for my blog posts, videos, and I got inspired after seeing Pixel Pete's video on portrait design. So I went all out and I completely underestimated how difficult it would be because the face, oh my God, the face was agony. Day 17, I couldn't draw either because I needed to make a recipe for my backcountry cooking class out of nowhere, which sucked like an hour of my time and left no time for drawing. But I got to eat peanut pasta the next day when we did backcountry cooking because of making it. So it was definitely worth it. Just goes to show sometimes you do not see the stuff coming. Day 18, speaking of peanut butter, I made myself holding a jar of peanut butter with glowing rays rating off of it. And I think it looks epic. This one was way easier than just drawing myself on its own because it's incredible how reusing your own pixel art can make the whole process go like 80% faster. I'm already 80% done. Days 19 and 20, I am trying and failing to draw the person who I was dating at the time. Shameless aside, I'm just saying, right? Women are way harder to draw than guys. Maybe it's just cause I'm a guy, but like boobs are hard to draw in pixel art, okay? I'm speaking a little lightly because in case anyone's in the room and they can hear. I had a rough time is all I'm trying to say. But I got it done in the end. Day 21, I was feeling pretty tired after hanging out with my mom and a friend booking plane tickets for the summer. So I did some easy stuff. I just drew some more Terraria weapons and watched some more pixel art critique videos. And on day 22, I was also low energy, so I spent most of my drawing time watching more critique videos. On day 23 and 24, I got inspired to draw some Knights Radiant from my favorite series, the Stormlight Archives, after I began reading it again in Spanish, and it was epic. I got a lot of progress done in 2 hours or so I was drawing, and the Knight Radiant came out way better than I was expecting. Like, I added a glow and a shard blade and then gave them some friends by simply using the hue change feature. I mean, just look for yourself. Like, honestly, if you told me that I would be able to draw something like this on days 24 when I started doing pixel art, I would have gone insane. So I can't believe the power of purposeful practice. Days 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30, I spent creating a logo for my gamification series on YouTube and my blog, Level Up League, which you can see right now. And I created it using a ton of different video game aesthetics in the same design. So it might look really, really messy, but at least it'll showcase my pizzazz. And I think having this sort of mega project from the beginning to work on for the last third of the challenge was super motivating, because for any learning endeavor, I think having an awesome goal that you can get really excited about just motivates you to push through the grind that often comes up in the middle. And that's my 30-day pixel art journey. Like, honestly, I cannot believe that I got this far in 30 days. If you told me I would be able to draw some of the stuff that I could at day one, I would have slapped you in the face. I'm sure Seth would be proud looking back. So you might be asking, what's next for the pixel art? Honestly, I had so much fun. I'm definitely gonna keep drawing pixel art in the future, and I might even make another I Learned X video on pixel art at some time, or at least definitely another I Learned X video on something else. And actually, since writing the script for this video, I've actually done a lot more pixel art, and it's been about 15 days. So I'm just gonna flash up some of the drawings that I've done on screen so you can see the drawings I've done since the 30-day challenge, because I think some of them are awesome. And yeah, if there's one thing that you learned from this video, purposeful practice works. You can improve at any skill if you practice smart enough. You just have to make sure you're practicing with feedback, goals, focus, and step out of your comfort zone. So where do I recommend you start? The beginning of any learning journey comes with identifying what you want to learn in the first place and then creating a map. Before you learn anything, don't start learning. It's a full encapsulation of how to create a learning plan and go through with it. As always, have a fantastic rest of your day. Eat some peanut butter. Bye-bye.